Hey beautiful people, my name is Giuseppe, my friends call me Zep, and for the past 3 years I have been working in the animation industry as a background designer, background painter, and visual development artist. When I was an aspiring artist, I always loved watching videos on how professionals got their foot in, how their journey was like. And since I'm kind of a new artist since I started in animation in 2022, and now that I have these 3 years of experience at different studios, I felt like now is a great time to share my experience. So in this first video, I'm going to talk about how I got my first job in animation, which was a background painter at Titmouse Inc. on the production Metalocalypse, Army of the Doomstar. So before I get into that, let's rewind a little bit. So all my life, I think, like as usual, I was one of those kids that was always drawing naturally. I never like really thought about becoming an artist until probably like late high school. I always wanted to become a baseball player. That was my passion. Loved baseball. I was really good at it too. But I don't know. Things happened in life that just made me sort of lose passion for it. And then I think when I was either in my junior year or senior year, that's when I was like wondering, oh, what else am I good at? What else would I want to pursue in my life? I was graduating high school and art was always there. And I felt like I had like this natural talent. Like I was like better than most people like in my class. So then I always loved animation. I always loved movies, but I never really thought about how it's made. And then I seen the show Avatar: Last Airbender, and like that show like blew my mind, like most people. And I feel like, you know, I grew up with the Nick 90s. That show just really had a huge impact on me, and I loved everything about it. I mean, the humor, the morals, like the story, just everything, the art, the backgrounds, just everything about it. And I remember trying to go on Google and search up like how it's made. And when I saw that like people actually do this, I was like, I'm going all in. I'm doing this. This is what I want to do. You know, I didn't realize until I guess college or after college, I didn't realize how hard it was going to be, like how difficult this thing is. So at first, I wanted to be an animator, you know, which is to make characters and things move. And I went to a 2-year school in Delaware, College of Art and Design, which happened to have closed, I think last year, 2 years ago. But even though it was a really small school in a really small state, I felt like overall it was a good introduction to the art world. I enjoyed my teachers. I enjoyed my classmates. Some of them I still talk to this day. This was back in 2016, so I went there from 2016 to 2018. Overall, I had a good experience over there. And then after that, I transferred to Pratt Institute in Brooklyn to continue animation. And when I got there, I hated it so much. So, you know, everyone knows, and if you don't know, the animation art school is very expensive. And when I got to Pratt, like they weren't teaching me anything. Niente, nada. They just would tell me what to do or tell the class what to do, and that's it. Like, go do it, you know? And I'm like, I don't even know how to draw a foot. I don't even know how to like animate a bouncing ball correctly. You want me to make a freaking short film? Like that's what they wanted us to do. I'm like, dude, I need to get good. Like I don't know how to do this or that. Like, what the heck? What am I paying you for? You know, wasting my time? I can do this at home for free. So after 2 months of being there, I dropped out. I was like, no. I listened to my gut. I was like, no. After that, I dropped out, and then I was just working odd jobs. I was like working in construction and things like that, just doing whatever to support myself. And then I always wanted to go on the west side, California, right? Because that's At the time, that's where everything was, still kind of is. But I should have done this before, which is do your research. Like, research when you're looking at art schools. Like, look up the alumni, like who has gone there and what are they doing now, right? And when you're looking at the alumni, like, don't, if it's people that, you know, graduated like 20, 30 years ago, and there's no one recently, like, that's not a good sign. You know, you want people to have graduated recently and are active artists now. So anyways, I stumbled on Academy of Art University in San Francisco, and I saw that there were so many like Disney artists there, like Ryan Lang, Helen Chen, yeah, so many artists that have gone there that I was looking up to and following on Instagram. And so I saw that it had a good reputation, and yeah, and I always wanted to go to San Francisco, so I was like, all right, let's do this. And when I went there, that's when I learned about visual development, and that changed my mind. But let me go back a little bit. So when I was at Pratt Institute, I remember showing the animation instructor like my sketchbook, and it was a bunch of like figure drawings and characters, and then I had one painting in there that was just a still life painting I had. And I remember he was like, nothing in this sketchbook has any life except for this painting. And like, I was like, yeah, well, you know, I really like painting, you know. And then he's like, then why are you in animation, dummy? You know. And I'm like, well, I want to work in animation. And he's like, you don't have to be an animator to work in animation. You can be a painter. You can study fine art. You can study illustration, whatever. And then I'm like, why didn't anyone tell me this? Like, I just kept thinking that you had to study like actual animation to get in this field. Like, I thought you had to do everything, like animate, paint, design, like everything, you know? I didn't know, okay? I didn't know. I was young and naive at the time. And then that's when I learned about, when I was researching and looking up Academy of Art University, that's when I found out about visual development, about designing characters and designing environments and doing this and not animating. Because, man, I was not good at animating. I had a horrible time. I was always grinding, like practicing, but no matter what, like, I just was not born to do that. Okay, I feel like people are born to be animators, but I was just not. And I felt like painting was my thing. So once I started school in San Francisco, which I only went for 1 year, I was studying visual development, so I was taking you know, like intro to Photoshop and perspective classes, and fine art painting, like oil painting. That's when I was learning oil painting. And yeah, I loved it. I loved painting. Like, I learned like very quickly. So yeah, so then from then on, I was like, okay, I want to get into visual development. I want to like paint. I want to do environments, because I love perspective. I love environments. I love like designing props. I just want to paint and stuff. I don't want to. And then I didn't want to do characters because I was just, again, like, I just was not good at figure drawing. Like, I know I can do it, but it was just something I just didn't really enjoy the process. I had to drop out because it's expensive. Like, school is so expensive. Part of me regrets going to school because I would have saved a lot of money and I would have more money in my account right now. But, you know, I had so much fun. I had a lot of fun in school. I met a lot of great people. I had a lot of great teachers. Partied a lot, you know, that typical college life. And like, I worked my ass off. Like, I was going to school, then I went to work. I was working part-time jobs there, and then I would study, do homework, and then I would party, like, just all the time. And it was great. I loved it. So then I had to drop out, which I'm glad. So I went to school for 3 years, and I'm glad I dropped out because, you know, I saved a lot of money, and I feel like I wouldn't have been where I am now if I didn't, I think. So I felt pretty stuck because I was like brainwashed into thinking that I had to go to school, I had to get a degree to get into animation, which is false. This is why like having a mentor or like talking to people that are in the field is so important. It will just save you a lot of trouble. Like I had to learn everything the hard way, you know, and I appreciate it. I'm grateful for it because it's made me, it made me wiser, made me stronger, right? Um, but man, but everyone's journey is different. Um, so you can't compare yourself to anyone else. Everyone has different lives, different influences, grew up differently, different ambitions, you know. So like my biggest advice is to like don't compare yourself to anyone, and like just follow your heart, follow your gut, like do your own thing. So I'm back home, and I was working part-time at this liquor store, which was very chill. Obviously I didn't want to be there and it got annoying a lot of times, but you know, it was cool. It was a steady job. I was supporting myself, and then I would work from like I think 7 a.m. to like 1:30, and then from then on I would just study online as much as I can. And then when the days I was off, I would just keep studying online and working on my art and practicing. What really helped me get good in a decent amount of time and really understand and make a strong portfolio was taking schoolism.com. That online school, and they didn't pay me to do this, to say any of this, okay? I'm not getting sponsored by them. I hope so in the future though. But yeah, like man, that school, like I feel like saved my life, like saved my sanity, because I wanted to get so good at art and I was so limited. In a way, I felt like I was limited, and that school was just so amazing, and like again, like so affordable. Like I would do the self-taught version, which I think I paid, like I always bought like the sale annual subscription. It was always, they always have a winter and summer sale, and I would pay I think $200 for the year, and I would take any course I want at any time, and just you know, take, it would be self-paced, so I would just like take a class to go through all the lessons and then be done and then move on to the next one, right? And what is so valuable is that the people teaching this are like beasts, like legends, like active professionals that have this huge repertoire and are still working, you know. And what was so awesome was that they would show how they would work. You know, we would go through all the lessons and would show how they would work, and it was like, wow, you know, it just like gave me like so much confidence, and it was easily digestible, you know, to learn, dissect. And I remember, so I wanted to focus on environments, right? So I would take the color and light Tonko House class, and then like all of Nathan Fowlk's classes, and then I think I took like a digital painting with Bobby Chu class to get like more acquainted with Photoshop. So I remember like for 1 year I was just straight up learning. Like I wasn't like working on my portfolio, because like how could I, because I'm just like, how can you do something without really having the knowledge, right? That's just my opinion. So I just was like, okay, for 1 year I'm just gonna study, just absorb everything like a sponge, and just study and then implement it little by little, right? Because they would have like homework assignments, but obviously it's self-taught, so like you're just doing it on your own, right? But I was mainly trying to just understand as much as I can, and then put it into practice. And then I think on year 2 of taking schoolism.com courses, that's when I felt more confident. So then I would start working on just drawing more, just painting more, right? Not necessarily working on my portfolio, but just actually putting it into practice. And then I would still take the classes so I can always go back to it. So then on year 3, I was like, all right, let's do this. You know, I'm ready. Let's go. Like all that work, no play. Like, no, we're gonna play right now. Like we're working hard. Let's go. Work hard, play hard. And I was ready to make my portfolio. So I think I remember asking as I was making my portfolio, I remember asking artists, like DMing artists on Instagram, like for advice and what they did and whatnot. And a lot of them would tell me, don't do everything. Try to like focus on one thing, because when you're applying, recruiters need to understand like what job you're trying to do, right? Because it's not just a one general job. Like there are, but it's a bit harder to like you do that down the line. But what I'm trying to say is that there are different jobs. Like there's character designer, there's a storyboard artist, there's the background artist, you know, the 3D modeler, right? There's all these different jobs. I wanted to be a background painter, right? Like going back to Avatar, I'm like, I want to be a background painter, and or designer, right? So I remember like just working on stuff that I want to draw, not stuff that I think is trendy, or like, oh, Disney would like this, or you know, whatever. Like I was just doing things that like inspired me, or I can relate to, like my culture, right? Growing up, I mean, being Sicilian and spending a lot of summers in Italy, and I love electronic music, so I go to raves often, and I incorporate that in my portfolio. And then like growing up, like my childhood, growing up in Jersey, and this and that, right? And whatever my interests are, like that's what I would focus on. You know, traveling, I would make pieces like that, and then my pieces have to be strong, right? So that's why knowledge is important. So I always feel like the most important things in creating an environment portfolio is values and composition, because if those aren't great, like nothing else matters, you know. So I try to show that like I'm a good like cinematographer. Like I'm really good at staging, and I'm good at perspective. And then, you know, with the values, like trying to show that I have clear designs and intent and where the focus is. And then painting, right? That goes afterwards, like showing the colors, the lighting, the mood. Those are all things I wanted to portray, and that's what I worked on for a year to 2. And I remember when I was looking for jobs and whatnot, I would often get portfolio reviews. So I remember studios would share on their social media that like, hey, if you want a free portfolio review, just apply and we'll connect with you, and things like that. So there were a lot of it was remotely, which was dope. And then I've even gone to Lightbox Expo for portfolio reviews, which was great. And what I found like frustrating was that everyone has a different opinion. And you know, it's normal, because everyone has, you know, people have different tastes, people have different experiences, people have worked for different studios, so everyone would say like different things. I remember like for DreamWorks, I didn't work at DreamWorks, but I've always wanted to, I still want to one day, and they were always telling me that my work is great, and like I'm hitting all these check marks, but they're like, oh, we want to see like more technical stuff, because this is a 3D animation studio. We want you to see like orthographic angles, like you know, how'd you like the process, like how'd you do this, like what kind of textures did you use, what were the references, like more like technical stuff. which makes sense, right? Because you have to break down, because for especially for visual development, it's not just fancy paintings, right? It's more like the technical stuff, dissecting things and showing, kind of like being like an architect or like a industrial designer, I guess, like kind of just showing how this is made, right? Like let's say if you design a house, like what's the material, like how does the inside look, like how is it on an overhead angle, like what's like the blueprint of it, like how did you do everything, right? That was just their process. And then in my head I'm like, I can't do that. I could do that no problem. Just give me a chance. like if you can tell that I can draw and I can paint, like why do you think I can't like do these technical stuff? And then I remember hearing Helen Chen speak at Lightbox, and she mentioned that she doesn't care for that, because I'm just going off of the video of, not the video, of what I heard her say, is that she's like, if I can see that someone can paint very well, can design very well, like I know that they can do all the technical stuff. And I'm like, thank you, yes, thank you, someone understands me. From being like a little bit frustrated, I was like, you know what, like I'm gonna do what I want to do, okay? Like I was like, I'm gonna do what I want to do. I want to paint, I want to design, so that's what I'm gonna do. I want to be a background painter, so that's what I'm gonna do. But I did take a good rule of thumb, which is like show interiors, show exteriors, show variety, show different times of day, show different color palettes, right? So I wasn't completely ignoring everything, because this is all important stuff, and I would implement what I was told, right? But I just wasn't just listening to like one person, I would kind of like take everything and put it together. And lo and behold, the portfolio that I made got me through the past 3 years. It got me all the way, it got me from being a background painter at Titmouse, and it got me to being a visual development artist at LAIKA Studios. So I made a portfolio that showed that I wanted to be a background painter. And then in 2022, that's when I got an offer from Titmouse to work as a background painter on Metalocalypse, the movie, the Army of the Doomstar. And the way I got that, I think I applied at some point, like early in that year, like January 2022, I believe. Like it was like an expression of interest form or something. And then they hit me up like a couple months later in like April 2022 to ask me if I'm interested in this role. Well, they were interested in me and wanted me to take a test to see if I'm a good fit for this project. And the test wasn't paid. I should have asked, but this was my first like break, so like I was like, I'll do it for free. I don't care. I'm working on the side anyways. So they gave me 2 weeks to do a test. They gave me 2 background designs, and then I had to paint it. Yeah, and I did good, obviously. And then they hired me, and I was working as a background painter for 3 months. So it was awesome. So I feel like sharing that just proves that it's good to focus on what you want to do, and that way, like that's the job that you'll receive, right? You manifest something, it comes back to you, right? Or you make it happen. So I know making a portfolio is a big topic, so I'll make another video talking about that, because I can talk about that forever. So that's how I got my first job in animation. It wasn't like straight shot after college. I dropped out after 3 years, and then it took me 4 years after I dropped out, to get my foot in the door. I think I was 25 when that happened. And I want people to know that like you're never too old or it's never too late to get into animation. Like it takes so much time and effort to get good. Like you have to get good. Like there's no other way about it. There are other things you can, there are other jobs you can do in animation that doesn't require uh, like design and stuff, like what's it called, production coordinator, recruiter, like facilities assistant. Like there are things that can get you in the field, but not like designing. I wanted to get a design job, right? Because I was like, I'll do something chill on the side to make money, and then I'll get my design job. But yeah, like a lot of professional artists that are, you know, so good and amazing, like they all started like around 25, 26, 27, and even 30 years old, because it takes a long time to get good at this, especially when you have to work, you know, a job on the side to support yourself, you know. And I don't come from wealth, you know. I had an amazing childhood and everything, but like I'm not well, you know, I didn't grow up in wealth, and I had to work hard for the things I have now and for to get where I am, and I wouldn't have had it wanted it any other way. You know, I'm grateful for the way I grew up. I'm grateful for my parents. I'm grateful for everything, because it's just made me who I am, and it made me a lot wiser and stronger. You know, they're, you know, not to like throw shade, but I'm like one of the only people like in my classes that throughout college that has actually made it, because I didn't give up. You know, I kept going, and like this is what I wanted. I knew, I believed in myself. My family believed in me, and I made it happen. So sweet. I'll definitely be making more videos talking about my experience and journey in animation. So stay tuned for more. Subscribe, like, and subscribe. Thank you. Peace.